He almost didn't hear it at first. A faint cry, thin, broken, somewhere in the dark. The man slowed his car, leaning forward, searching. Then his headlights swept across a shape in the middle of the road. Small, shaking. A puppy. Its fur was matted, one paw dragging against the pavement. Cars could have crushed it at any second. He pulled over hard, heart racing, and ran into the road. The little body trembled in his hands. So light, so fragile. The puppy whimpered, pressing its face into his chest, as if it already knew it was safe. Then he saw it. A collar. Old, frayed, and a metal tag hanging from it. Not just a name, not just an address. Something strange. Something that didn't look like it belonged on a pet at all. Before he could read it again, red and blue lights flashed in his rear-view mirror. The sound of a police siren split the night. They were pulling up behind him. But why? For the dog? For him? He held the puppy tighter. And in that moment, everything changed. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to follow the story. What would you do if you found a crying puppy with a strange tag? The red and blue lights bled across his windshield. The man stood frozen in the road, the puppy pressed against his chest, its tiny heart racing as fast as his own. The cruiser pulled up behind his car. Doors opened. 2 officers stepped out. Their faces were unreadable in the harsh beam of headlights. "Sir," one of them called, "step away from the road." He obeyed, carefully, clutching the puppy tighter. Its whimpers echoed in the quiet street. The taller officer glanced at the dog. "Where did you get that?" The man swallowed. It was in the road, limping. "I stopped before someone hit it." The officer's eyes dropped to the collar. A flicker of recognition, then something colder. "Let me see the tag." The man hesitated. He held the collar steady, letting the tag swing in the light. Not a name, not an address, just a sequence of numbers. Stamped deep, military sharp. The officers exchanged a look. "That's unusual," the shorter one said. His voice sounded flat, practiced. The man frowned. "Is it stolen? Lost? What's going on?" No answer. Just silence. The taller officer stepped closer. "We'll need to take the dog." The man felt the puppy flinch against him. Its small body pressed harder into his shirt, as if it understood the danger. "I can't," he said quietly. "Not until I know it's safe." The officer's jaw tightened. "Sir, that isn't your decision." But the man didn't move. He couldn't. Something about the way they looked at the tag unsettled him. Too sharp, too controlled. "This is just a puppy," he said. "Somebody's pet. Somebody's family is probably worried sick." "Or," the officer replied, "it belongs somewhere it shouldn't have left." The man stared. What does that mean? Again, that silence, that unreadable pause. The puppy whimpered, paw twitching, eyes wet with fear. The man felt his throat tighten. "Listen," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "I'll take it to the station myself. File a report. You can follow me if you want. But I'm not handing it over on the side of the road." The officers exchanged another look. A silent conversation. Finally, the shorter one sighed. "Fine. We'll escort you." The man nodded, though unease pulled in his stomach. He carried the puppy back to his car, sliding into the driver's seat. The tiny body curled in his lap, shivering. He stroked its fur, whispering, "You're okay. I've got you." In the mirror, the police car followed, its lights dim but present, watching. The drive felt endless. Every turn of the tires seemed louder. Every streetlight cast long shadows across the dashboard. The puppy stirred, licking his hand weakly, then whined again. "You've been through something," the man whispered. "Haven't you?" He wanted answers. The tag dangled against his palm, heavy with questions. Finally, the station came into view. A squat brick building glowing under harsh floodlights. He parked. The officers guided him inside. The fluorescent lights hummed. The air smelled of coffee and dust. A clerk sat behind the counter, weary eyes peering over glasses. She reached for the dog gently. "Let's just scan the chip, see where it belongs." Reluctantly, the man loosened his hold. The puppy whined as it was lifted away. The scanner beeped once. Then the clerk froze. Her eyes darted to the tag, to the screen, back again. Her face paled. "Is there a problem?" the man asked. The clerk didn't answer. She quickly set the puppy back in his arms. Almost urgently. "You want to wait," she said. Her voice had changed. Lower. Careful. The officers leaned in. "What did it say?" "System error." The clerk lied. Too quickly. Couldn't read. The man caught it. He saw the truth flicker across her face. She knew something. The taller officer straightened. "We'll handle it from here." But the clerk shook her head. "Protocol says he fills out a report first." He found it. His responsibility. The tension in the room thickened. The man glanced between them all. The officer stiff, pressing closer. The clerk protective, almost warning him without words. The puppy whimpered again, curling tighter into his chest. The man cleared his throat. "I'll do the report, but until someone explains what's going on, this dog stays with me." The officer's eyes narrowed. The taller one leaned close. His voice was quiet, but sharp enough to cut. "You don't understand what you're holding." The man met his stare. "Maybe not, but I understand what it needs. And right now, it needs someone who won't let go." For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. Then the shorter officer muttered something under his breath. They stepped back, exchanging a silent agreement. "Fine," the taller one said finally, "but don't leave town." The man exhaled, clutching the puppy close. He nodded. "I won't." But inside, his mind was burning. What was on that tag? Why did the clerk look so afraid? And why did the police want the dog so badly? The answers waited somewhere ahead. And he knew, deep down, that taking the puppy had already pulled him into something much bigger than himself. Subscribe to see what happens when a stranger warns him about the puppy. Would you trust the police in this situation, or keep the puppy safe yourself? The puppy nestled deeper into his arms. Its breathing was shallow, uneven. The man could feel every fragile tremor against his chest. He stood at the counter. Filling out the report, the clerk had slid toward him. His handwriting was uneven, distracted. The pen shook faintly in his grip. The two officers lingered nearby, too close, whispering between themselves. Their eyes never left the dog. The clerk sat stiff at her station. Her face had drained of color, but her lips stayed pressed shut, as if fear itself held them there. The man forced his attention to the paper. Name, address, time of finding. He wrote slowly, deliberately, anything to keep the puppy from being pried away. Halfway through, he heard footsteps. Someone else entered the lobby. A man in a worn jacket, thin, graying hair. The smell of cigarettes and engine oil clung to him. He moved as if he didn't want to be noticed, but his eyes flicked instantly to the puppy, and then to the tag. He froze. The man caught it. That flicker of recognition. The stranger shuffled closer, leaning near as if to look at the paperwork. His voice came low, just above a whisper. "Be careful who takes that dog." The man stiffened. He turned slowly. "What did you say?" The stranger's eyes darted to the officers. They were still watching, still whispering. He leaned closer. His breath smelled of smoke. "Not everyone here wants to protect it." The man's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" But the stranger pulled back, expression blank. He walked to the far side of the lobby and sat down, pretending to be another weary soul waiting for his turn. The man's pen hovered above the paper. His heart thudded harder. He looked down at the puppy. Its eyes half closed, its body heavy with exhaustion. But when he shifted, the dog's paw clutched faintly at his shirt, as if begging him not to let go. He swallowed hard. The officer stepped forward again. "Finished." "Almost," he muttered, scribbling the last lines quickly. The taller officer reached out. "We'll take it from here." But the clerk's voice cut in. Tight, sharp. He has to sign first. They turned to her. A long, cold silence passed. Then the taller one stepped back, annoyed. The man handed over paper. His signature looked shaky, uneven. The clerk nodded quickly, filing it away eyes never leaving his. There was something pleading in her stare, a message she couldn't say aloud. Finally, the officer sighed. Fine, take the animal home, but keep your phone on. The man blinked. You're letting me take it? For now, the tall one said. His voice carried a weight, a warning. We'll be in touch. And just like that, they turned and walked out. The door shut with a hollow thud, leaving only silence. The man exhaled shakily. He adjusted his hold on the puppy. Its small head rested under his chin, warm and weak. The clerk leaned forward slightly. Her voice was low. Urgent. Don't bring it back here. The man froze. What? Her hands trembled as she shuffled papers on the desk, avoiding his eyes. I can't say more. Just don't. The stranger across the room coughed once, then stood. He passed by slowly, his gaze locking with the man's. Watch your back, he murmured. Then he was gone. The man's breath caught in his chest. Everything felt wrong now. The tag, the scanner, the fear on the clerk's face, the warning from a stranger who shouldn't care. He looked down at the puppy again. Its tiny chest rose and fell unevenly, but its eyes flickered open just long enough to meet his. And in those eyes, he saw something fragile. Desperate. This wasn't just a stray. This wasn't just a lost pet. Someone wanted it back, and not for the right reasons. The man turned and left the station. The puppy clutched tight to his chest. The night air hit him cold and sharp. His car waited under the lamppost. He opened the door, sliding into the seat. For a moment, he sat still, staring at the tag dangling in the glow of the overhead light. Numbers. Nothing but numbers. Yet enough to shake everyone who saw them. He thought of calling someone. Animal control. A rescue group. But then he remembered the officer's eyes. The clerk's trembling hands. The stranger's whisper warning. Who could he trust? The puppy stirred, gave a soft, broken whimper. The man stroked its fur, whispering, Don't worry. I won't let them take you. Not until I know the truth. He started the engine. The sound made the puppy flinch, then settle again against his lap. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless. He drove slowly, scanning the mirrors more than the pavement. Every pair of headlights behind him made his stomach tighten. Every turn felt like it could be the one where someone followed. Finally, he pulled onto a street. The familiar houses lined up in neat rows, porches dark, curtains drawn. A quiet, suburban night. Safe, or it should have been. He carried the puppy inside, careful not to wake the family. But his daughter's door creaked open. Dad. Her voice was sleepy. He froze. Back to bed, sweetheart. But she patted closer, eyes widening when she saw the bundle in his arms. Is that a puppy? The little dog whimpered, tail twitching weakly. For the first time all night, it tried to lift its head. Her face softened instantly. She reached out a hand. It's so small. The puppy nuzzled against her palm, and something in the man's chest broke open. This dog already belonged here, already trusted them more than anyone else. He whispered, almost to himself, No one's taking you away. But even as he said it, headlights flickered faintly outside the window. A car passing, or watching. He stood still, holding the puppy close, listening to the night. The stranger's words rang in his ears. Be careful who takes that dog. And deep down he knew this was only the beginning. Subscribe so you don't miss the truth behind the mysterious tag. If a stranger warned you not to trust the authorities, would you risk keeping the puppy at home? The house was quiet. Too quiet. The man stood in the hallway, the puppy bundled against his chest. He could hear his wife moving in the kitchen, the soft clink of dishes being stacked, the hum of the fridge. He turned the corner. She looked up, her eyes locked on the tiny shape in his arms. Her face stiffened. What is that? He shifted uncomfortably. I found it in the road. Almost got hit. It's just for tonight. Her gaze narrowed. Tonight? The puppy whimpered softly, nuzzling closer into his shirt. His wife folded her arms. You're serious. You brought a stray into the house at midnight? With everything else we're dealing with. It's not just a stray, he said quietly. Something's wrong. The police, he stopped himself. her brow furrowed. The police, what? He shook his head. I'll explain later. But their daughter was already padding into the room, drawn by the sound. Her eyes lit up at the sight of the dog. Daddy, is it ours? The puppy squirmed, reaching toward her with its tiny paw. She bent down, and as soon as he sat on the floor, it stumbled straight into her lap. She giggled, cradling it. It likes me. The man's chest tightened. Yes, it liked her. No, more than that. It clung to her, as if she was the only safe place in the world. His wife sighed, rubbing her forehead. You can't just bring home trouble like this. What if it's sick? What if someone's looking for it? They are, he muttered. She froze. What do you mean? He looked at her, then at their daughter, who was now whispering softly to the puppy, stroking its ears. The little creature had curled itself so tight against the girl's side it looked like it had always been there. The man forced a smile. I'll handle it. But inside, dread churned. That night, the puppy refused to leave his daughter's room. He carried it to the kitchen to drink some water, but it whimpered until she returned. When she lay in bed, it pressed its body against her side, sighing as if it finally found home. The man stood in the doorway, watching. His wife joined him, arms crossed, worry etched on her face. This isn't good, she whispered. He nodded slowly. I know. But he didn't take the dog away. He couldn't. The days that followed were uneasy. The puppy grew stronger. It limped less, played more, and wagged its tail every time his daughter entered the room. She named it Lucky, said it was lucky to found them, lucky to be alive. And maybe she was right. But outside, something darker brewed. It began with a car idling too long at the end of the street. A dark sedan, windows tinted. The man noticed it while taking the trash out. When he looked straight at it, the car rolled away without a sound. The next night it was back, then another vehicle. A truck this time, different color, same quiet presence, always watching. He told himself it was coincidence, but deep down he knew better. One evening, as his daughter laughed with Lucky in the yard, the puppy chasing her in clumsy circles, the man saw it again. A pair of headlights glinting from the corner. The car wasn't moving, just sitting. He walked out to the edge of the driveway, arms crossed. The car started, drove away, but the unease remained. At dinner, his wife noticed a tension in his jaw. They're back, aren't they? She asked quietly. He didn't answer. She set her fork down. You need to tell me what's going on. All of it. He glanced toward their daughter. She was too busy sneaking scraps of chicken under the table to the puppy, who gobbled them eagerly, tail thumping against the chair leg. He lowered his voice. The tag. It isn't normal. The police wanted him. Badly. And there was a warning. Someone told me not to let them take him. Her face drained of color. So this isn't just about a lost dog. He shook his head. She covered her mouth, whispering, Oh, God. The puppy barked once, sharp, as if sensing the fear in the room. His daughter giggled, hugging it close. Don't worry, Lucky. We'll keep you safe. The man's chest ached at her innocence. If only it were that simple. That night he couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made him tense. Every crunch of tires on asphalt sent him to the window. At one point, he caught the glow of headlights moving slowly past their house, then fading into the distance. He whispered to himself, over and over, they're not getting him. Not while he's here. But the fear grew heavier with each passing night. The puppy never left his daughter's side. Not once. If she went upstairs, he followed. If she shut the door, he scratched until it opened. If she cried in her sleep, he licked her hand until she quieted. It was as if he had chosen her. And that choice terrified the man, because whoever was watching, they weren't going to stop. One night, around midnight, the sound of an engine cut through the quiet. He stepped to the window, heart pounding. A car crept slowly down the street. Not fast, not careless, slow enough to count the houses. It stopped across from theirs. He froze, staring. The headlights switched off. For a long, breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the car rolled forward again, disappearing into the dark. He stood there long after it was gone, chest tight, fists clenched at his sides. Behind him, the puppy whimpered softly. It had left his daughter's room for the first time all week. It now sat at his feet, ears pricked, eyes fixed on the window, watching, waiting. The man bent down, lifting it gently into his arms. Its tiny body trembled against his chest. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'll keep you safe. Whatever this is, they won't take you." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure if it was a promise he could keep, because whatever lived inside that tag, whatever truth the dog carried, it was already closing in on their doorstep. The man couldn't shake the image of that car idling outside their home, its headlights off, its driver hidden, watching. By morning, he had made up his mind. He needed to know the truth. While his daughter played in the yard with the puppy, the man sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. The tag lay beside it, glinting faintly in the sunlight, though strange. Stamp numbers burned into his thoughts. He typed them in, search after search. At first, nothing, then a trail, a registry, an old article. The numbers weren't random. They were an identification code, and the code belonged to a kennel, a breeder, not just any breeder, a wealthy operation an hour away. The article showed glossy photos of long white barns, golden fields, and smiling handlers holding purebred pups. It looked perfect, too perfect. Then he dug deeper. Buried in smaller headlines, complaints surfaced, lawsuits, rumors of cruelty, dogs disappearing, inspections mysteriously passed, neighbors whispering about nighttime trucks. The man's stomach twisted. He looked at Lucky, bounding clumsily after his daughter's laughter. The same dog who had been left limping in the road. Thin and terrified. Had he escaped from that place? And if so, why was someone so desperate to take him back? That evening, the phone rang. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Carter?" A man's voice. "Calm. Official. This is Detective Owens. We need to discuss the animal you found." The man's grip tightened. "Why?" "The tag indicates property belonging to a registered kennel. We'll need you to release it to the authorities." "Property?" the man repeated. His voice shook. "This is a living creature, not property." Silence. Then, colder. "Sir, refuse and comply could lead to charges. Theft. Obstruction. Do you understand?" He looked through the window. His daughter knelt in the grass. Lucky curled in her lap. Her small hand stroked its ears gently as she whispered secrets only children share with animals. The puppy's tail thumped weakly, eyes closed in pure trust. The man swallowed hard. "No," he said firmly. "I won't hand him over. Not until I know what's happening in that kennel." The line clicked dead. That night, headlights swept across the house again. Not one car. Two, both slowing as they passed, then vanishing into the dark. His wife stood at the window beside him. "They won't stop," she whispered. "You're putting us all in danger." He rubbed his temples, tore between fear and defiance. If they're this desperate, what does that tell you? What kind of people want a dog back so badly that they send the police, strangers, cars in the night? She closed her eyes, whispering, "The kind who don't lose." But his daughter's laughter drifted in from the hallway. The puppy's paws skittered across the floor as they played. Joy in the middle of dread. The man clenched his fists. "Then we fight." The next morning, he drove out, alone, the tag in his pocket. The road to the breeder's estate wound through quiet fields. Then the barns appeared. White fences, expensive gates, cameras swiveling slowly as he approached. He pulled over at a distance. He didn't need to go inside to feel it. The polished facade, the carefully hidden truth. A sign on the gate read, "Fairview Kennels, trusted breeder since 1984. But his research painted another story. Complaints of sick animals sold to families. Dogs too thin. Puppies dying young. Neighbors claiming to hear, crying through the night. And behind it all, a name, Dalton Fairview. Wealthy, influential, untouchable. The man's jaw tightened. This was where Lucky came from. He knew it, but how many others were still trapped behind those gates? Back home, Pressure mounted. Another call from the police. Another demand. His wife pleaded with him at the dinner table. "They're not going to stop," she said. "You can't fight people like this. Think of our daughter." "I am," he whispered. She shook her head. "No, you're thinking about the dog." But his daughter, sitting cross-legged on the floor, looked up, the puppy curled in her lap, licking her fingers. "Please, Daddy," she said softly, "don't let them take Lucky." Her words pierced him deeper than anything else. He looked at her, at the fragile animal press against her, at the cars circling outside. A choice weighed heavy in his chest. He could give the puppy up, protect his family, end the danger. Or he could hold on, risk everything, fight against people with money, power, and police at their side. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he knew the truth. He couldn't let go. The following day, he made calls of his own, not to the police, not to the kennel, but to journalists, rescue groups, anyone who might listen. Most brushed him off. Too risky, too messy. But one voice didn't. A local reporter. Curious, bold. She asked him to meet. He agreed. That night, as he sat by the window, he spotted the cars again, watching, waiting. The puppy stirred in his daughter's arms, eyes meeting his. The man whispered, more to himself than anyone, "They want to fight? They've got one." Because now, it wasn't just about saving a dog. It was about exposing the truth and protecting the bond that had already changed his family forever. The man sat at the kitchen table, staring at the numbers etched into the tag. The metal was cold in his hand, heavy with everything it meant. His wife stood at the counter, arms crossed, lips pressed in. "You can still end this," she whispered. "Give them what they want. Send the dog back." But in the living room, their daughter was curled on the rug, the puppy asleep against her chest. She stroked its ears gently, whispering promises only a child believes can hold back the world. He looked from the tag to them, and he knew there was no going back. The next morning, he met with the reporter. She was younger than he expected, with a determined set to her jaw. She listened as he laid out everything. The strange tag, the police pressure, the clerk's fear, the cars circling their home. When he showed her the breeder's name, her eyes sharpened. "Fairview," she said. "People have tried to expose him before. They never get far." "Why not?" the man asked. "Because he owns half the town," she replied. "But if you've got proof, a dog in your arms with one of his tags, weak and injured," she paused, "that could change everything." He nodded slowly. His choice was clear. It started small. The reporter ran a story online, just a few paragraphs. Local man finds injured puppy with kennel tag. Questions raised about Fairview operations. Then the photo appeared. His daughter holding Lucky, the puppy's thin frame visible, the numbers on the tag glinting in her hand. The story spread. By the end of the week, neighbors were at their door. Some brought blankets, food, supplies for the dog. Others brought stories of their own, dogs bought from Fairview that arrived sick or never lived past a year. The community whispered, then it shouted. Protests formed at the gates of Fairview Kennels. Cameras rolled, signs waved. Shut it down. No more cruelty. Justice for the dogs. The breeder's smile faded. His polished barns were no longer secret. But pressure also mounted on the family. Police cruisers slowed as they passed their house. Officers knocked, insisting again that the dog must be surrendered. The man stood in the doorway, his wife at his side, his daughter clutching Lucky behind them. "No," he said firmly. "Not until you prove he's safe there. Not until you prove there's no cruelty." The officer's jaw tightened. But with cameras now camped outside, the family wasn't so easy to silence. One night, the breeder himself arrived. A black car at the curb. A man in a suit, face smooth and cold. "You've made a mistake," he said softly, standing at their door. "That's my property. Return it, and this ends." The man met his stare. "It's not property. It's a life, and it belongs here now." The breeder's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You think the crowd out there will protect you? They'll lose interest. But I won't." The door shut in his face, And that was when the man realized his fight was bigger than his fear. The investigation came next. Reporters dug. Former employees stepped forward. Hidden footage leaked. Rows of cages. Dogs left in filth. Handlers moving with practiced cruelty. The glossy barns had always hidden the truth. But now the truth was out. Police who once pressed him grew silent. Too many eyes were watching. Too much evidence spread like wildfire. And finally, the gates of Fairview Kennels opened. This time not for customers, but for investigators. The day the raid happened, the family watched from their television. The little girl clutched Lucky tightly, tears in her eyes. "Are they safe now, Daddy?" she whispered. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "They will be, because people finally saw." The screen showed dog after dog carried out of the barns. Some thin, some sick, some wagging their tails despite it all. For the first time in weeks, hope filled the room. Months passed. Fairview was charged. His empire crumbled. The community stood taller, prouder, for having fought together. But in the man's home, the real victory was smaller, quieter. It was in the way Lucky followed his daughter everywhere, upstairs, downstairs, even waiting outside the bathroom door. It was in the way he barked at the mailman, guarded the yard, slept pressed against her feet every night. The puppy had chosen her. And no matter how dark the nights had been, that bond had never broken. One evening, as the sun dipped low, the family sat together on the porch. Lucky rested in the girl's lap, tail wagging gently. Her mother reached over, stroking the dog's fur. "He really was lucky," she said softly. "But maybe we were too." The man looked at them, his wife, his daughter, the dog who had almost been lost. His chest tightened, but not with fear, with something warmer. They had faced cars in the night, threats at the door, a system built to silence them. And somehow they had won. He leaned back, closed his eyes as the puppy barked a firefly drifting past. For once, the world felt safe. And for the first time since that night on the road, he allowed himself to breathe. The puppy wasn't just a rescue. He was family now, forever tied to the girl who refused to let him go. And that was the kind of truth no one could ever take away.